know, she's there.
Hello?
Oh, yeah, that. I'm not going to sound. I can make seem low. My lord, Shana, the children who ate what the show on this stuff is, and it's just 6 in the Malapi. It's all 6 the Shan, set to the door. What was that? Oh, then, Tata the Nomo lamp chill on the door. I think you to the 100 lamp chill. Shan Chinang Jian Yomo Party that's all Kang Chung Yang Ranke, Dochat, Xedang Demo, Zara Sumen Sobic, Danger Jess, Hodong, Modon, Ludong Zomna in this. Tema in Bitch or Nuja Seva Yoda, Yujang Messi was on door.
So, not on Nate, than budget lumber Kilgamara.
Ah,
Nate and Parchet lumber Kilgamara.
你当我去这趟着我他咸阳是去哪开始？去哪去了去牛毛把他把去了做康穷阳是，听多恰让听多恰他写当 demo，咋了从弄什么设备点点去，活动他毛动流动了从那玩意的是，他们一边去了弄一次吧，有他们现在有没时间是，没时那嘛，才咱们弄几天你讲是吧？差不多。
All right, so the next section we just talked about the taking of afflictive emotions as their path. And so the next section speaks about how to take like spirits and like, the evil influences, demonic influences as the path. So let's see, I might just look at the Tibetan. Actually, it's a little strange in English. So it says then next, so whatever a negative condition arises, such as afflictive emotions or obstacles, you should recognize that these arise as the interdependence. They are they arise in dependence upon your own attachment, hatred, and ignorance. So that's how long I'm talking about.
弄什么啥呢？送那真的，在点点做对真的普通嘛东西，穿着有，然后老点的穿着有的咯。
In a long I'm talking about.
咋嘛的？咋demo 去咋了是？咋的？弄什么错别是？弄什么错别点点些是？
Yeah, that's the confusion here. So in that part, it says channels, prana, and mind. It's not about channels and prana and mind at all. Okay, so whatever obstacles and so on arise, as the display a projection of your own attachment, hatred, and ignorance, which are thoughts that are actually the kind of the wind energies of your mind. Yeah.
哦，真的没信呢，是他这这挺通给的是，但这挺通对他这块把通嘛没被骂意思，但这那骂的，我的骂意思，这他们去了，两年被忘送的，东了，牛娃他们这省钱了，但这可以老车去给的做去了，老把去吧没记让我没什么的，我这老把去的这个是开始是那眼送去东了把都没把用的是，我这人工他家kur把他没，真kur把他没，是呢。 된 그거 야타리 앞에 가래 가보 요랬을 어떤 일이 돼 고차 당 레사 현미 소던 못해 레사 현요 말레스 대는 되는 다게 다 배장 아주 어떻게 다게 노지 채와 나오나 람스당 선도세도 담보 람스당 냠냠디 시딩고라다 되네 다랑 그루 샤차당 로바 돈이 나초가 근데파 샘키딩에 시라 nga肯定怕他原天现在写了定眼子，那看了看到没把多把没把当时，我才知道我当的是了，我想落下就是他妈机关的问题打的。
So they then appear as these these nagas and the demons and so on. But in reality, all of these beings lack inherent existence. And while so I'm looking at the Tibetan, not the English. So while they appear as external harm, they actually lack any inherent existence on their own side. They are a mere perception of yours, and that is the perception of causing harm. And so then the next reflection is, and all these beings have relatively actually been my parents since time without beginning, in lifetimes since time without beginning. And all of these mothers, due to the influence of their negative karmas, are now maddened. They are like insane, like kind of intoxicated by their afflictions, and therefore they experience suffering. So all of such sentient beings, these sentient beings, because they are like not in a clear state of mind, because they are like mad, like a mad person, they can't help sometimes but to cause harm. So some of these demons are also, or spirits can be very harmful too, and often they can't help it because they're kind of maddened through their karma. And so then, however, because they're causing harm, the harm will ripen in great suffering, inconceivable suffering in the lower realms. All of these wandering sentient beings have no protection. They have no one to place their hope into. They have no one to look after them. The harm, the perceived harm, not a harm, I perceive them causing me. That is what I have to take as the path. So this is what we need to practice with, and so we take it as the path.
That's
by first looking at the nature of that harm that is being experienced. Does it inherently exist? And then
Blue Shata Robot, it's some other Jimba Down on some parts, some gentlemen, the only the thing that they're not sure do. I think I can do by the same to you and ten. I can do by you and ten, same shit out thing and the teach some. Koran Khan can do part by Jimba Down is them.
So we take it as the path once we see its essence with our body, speech, and mind. So with our body, we offer them freely our flesh, blood, and bones. And then with we benefit them with our speech through the power of mantra and so forth, and then we benefit them through the power of our mind through our state of samadhi. So we benefit them in whatever way is necessary.
Then the technology is so cheap. Namka on Yambe, Simjan, Deva, on the end, on our function, also Lanamiba. Yang Tabar Zobe, Chancho, and Botober Chas, and the Chancho, Samji Goris. What are Jay in a nobody in Javon, Chamni get Chancho, Sam Tasio Mare. Or you can zoom in color, menu Chancho Sam Zombana, that is zoom in color, Yahoo to Chancho Assembly. Or then, we might dissimulate such a cheese, such a jay. Or cheese at a show did it. Chapote the Sacho was a Chapoje, Jet, Jet, or Chundu down, they con Chancho, same gum, they can't know by Jima top there. What to do, what to do, the Chancho, same then Jet, or Shivacha, the pen to hear it, Conato, the pen to hear it. Mato, the young J, some control sat and German as a China, part of Puna, make it so they didn't know by zero. Zabatu Kisong, or goes on the machine on nothing. Consortia Kahit, Nebato, Jerry, Dom, Nebato said, Don't make good ship, Porgos, make good ship at G, Porgos at G, the Porvasa, the Yayo, Marmay Timbo, so Taiko Zarwa. thành được trị dậy họ làm dậy phong để nhầm chỉ thế động thành được chỉ đi họ làm dễ nhầm chung được cái gì đúng giờ tập số nó mấy gì mà họ làm thế thành nụ mà trên nào mà nó dùng đó ra bắt được thế thế chăm nhìn trong chỗ xem con à thế xíu xả cái cái thế dùng rồi thế cái mà nghe thế yêu nhau sao thế cái mà ngã đàn nào cũng bắt đi rồi 나나 공부하듯이 나나서 공부하듯이 할 소셜에 레카레냐 마보요래 샤단 공부하듯이 부모한테 나디도 심바마데 샤데서 라티 나도 되게 좋은데 이제 공부하듯이 냥 지시 로요가 샤 내가 로가지 공부를 뭐 마보도 저런 로도 부모스 나도서 샤더라 생각도 나한테 받을 다송이 근데 부모 때 디스키 자 처리 되면도 샤 처리 되면 많이 좀제 송디도
Harijita. Oh,
많이 좀제 송디도 말해야지도 아, 전에 들어가 봐라 제도. 공개 배제 첨부제 배제 보트 중 가도 그런 가동은 살. 어 첨부도. 대모 고강做 라마라教是就上节了教是就修了教是大不了的。小弟不那么的差的晓得的，他肯定都是那一身，但我讲得不了的，别拿死都是，
Mugilapso, eh?
马上头他们都是，基本上中国家是那种多项目就给些吃有啥了哇，像肯定都是吃有啥，但那种别我讲是别东西的拿死都是。
Mm. So then it says, in order that all sentient beings, limitless is space, including those who bring harm. Okay, so you cultivate bodhicitta where you think, may all sentient beings, limitless is space, also those who cause harm, have happiness, be free from suffering, and swiftly achieve perfect and unsurpassed enlightenment. Now no matter what harm it is, it could be harm from some evil spirits, so anything that causes harm. The best way to deal with it is bodhicitta. Thigten Sumgen said that the most sublime protection sphere is bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is the best protection. Also, there was a story about Milarepa when he was meditating in a cave at a tree, a place name. And at that time, there were some spirits causing harm, trying to disrupt him. And he just meditated on bodhicitta. Milarepa just cultivated bodhicitta. And none of these demons could cause any harm. And in fact, they became pacified. Their hatred just calmed down. So if you cultivate bodhicitta, then actually that also benefits that evil spirit in that their animosity, the hostility calms down, and they also become peaceful. Because if you try to like defend when they attack, and you get angry and you kind of you try to fight them off, then actually it's not so sure about that this actually works. Dzogchen Pato Rinpoche told in the Words of My Perfect Teacher that there's some who are tormented by demons, like demonic harm or disease and so forth. And so then there is some who the way they deal with it is they try to exorcise that demon by almost becoming one themselves. So they go there with bulging eyes and like a fierce expression and to conquer that demon. But even if we do that, he says that maybe you have some luck with the more humble demons, but for like the more powerful demons, you will be out of luck doing that. And he said the best thing you can do is to cultivate bodhicitta, because then there's actually a possibility that they will also calm down. And so then Ruben said, in the past, I used to live in Dana Monastery, and in the old days when I was young, we rebuilt the monastery. There was a lot of work to do. So during that time, I heard one evening, there was a girl that was sick. She had a mental breakthrough, so she kind of lost her mind. And so some of my friends said we are going there to help. So a lot of people are going there. So I came along. And so when we saw her there, she was screaming, and there were two people trying to pin her down. And then there was a mantrika, Ngakpa, who had a huge volume of scripture. That was probably his daily prayers. It was quite big, a volume of scripture, and he jammed that on her head, saying a few times, saying that take refuge in the Lama, take refuge in the Buddha and the Dharma and the Sangha and so on. So these few times, every time he said that, he hit her in the head with that book. And so then the next day, some people came to ask her how you doing today, and she said that, well, I just remember I had a little bit of a headache last night.
다들 뭐 지금 나쇼나 소나 라완시라요 뭐 같이 송디요. 네. 그 나만아 잡죠 상지를 잡세 제대로.
It's because when she was in that state, she really she had no freedom, because she was being pinned down. So while she was pinned down, the Lama was saying, refuge in the Lama, refuge in the Buddha. Keep saying it.
뭐 비를 따따도 나는 진도 그 다른 나도 다 디스데로 와요.
So while that all happened, she was screaming, and she tried to resist. She was getting a bit angry and tried to swallow them.
말해서 다 잠니 장소 샘들 거래스 이제 초원다 다 같이 된 통호될 나지 내가 동동데 내가서 내배강 내가서 될 편포요 말했다这其实呢是来穷，这是留一当他是广过的，是一当他今天店铺我们今天他这个诺头个嘛玩啊，我现在在说什么要不当真的。我真的，但是那么我们上来那么参把我们全把西是的那么我们那没钱了的呢，真这诺头个嘛也是。我这诺家诺几天也让先诺家诺几，诺家诺几，那么天也让去先多嘛呢，结完没别求就归人吧啦，诺几。同样嘛，做吧，有嘛用嘛，生意周边他趟这边进口的为俺没把这上边可能跑行业也来没家吧，帮家你不你是没把瞧，是我他在瞧得起不讲，在这六年来去过是，农业做上也差不多嘛的是，哦，这种多农家农机差不多要嘛的是，我这我从去年店呢，这农机现在把些些鱼什么才差不多人家掐着个，但去年店把送的，去年店把送回阿汤起，是等去年店把送的阿汤起啊那或者。
So the main thing is to have bodhicitta, to have love and compassion. So sometimes when the people see some kind of really fear, some like evil being, or they think something's making them sick, and then by fixating on that, basically what happens is it makes them even more sick. And so the best thing is to cultivate bodhicitta, and then here it says, so with that in mind, bodhicitta in mind, then the body manifests as the yidam, appearing but not inherently existent. So again, if you manifest as the yidam, if you see yourself as the yidam, nothing can harm you. And then remember the holy Lama in the secret place of the yidam body. So also when you think of the guru, nothing will harm you. And the mind that reflects harmful beings is Dharmakaya, primordially unborn. So neither Hama nor object has existence. The mind itself is free from all elaboration, non-existent like the center of space. Maintaining that state, not bringing any thoughts, positive or negative, into the mind, experience the non-duality of abandonment and remedy. So when you rest in a state of Mahamudra, so this is about Mahamudra, then you see that all the harm is just confusion. It doesn't really actually exist. There is no real harm. But because our minds are confused, so from that perspective, from the confused perspective, it seems that it's really there. There's really something there that's causing harm. And that is why it is also said that by grasping, by believing in the truth of appearances, we only exhaust ourselves. It is so tiring to grasp at appearances.
你们今天总共这种修多少了吧？小当等蛋白也不是没节有的，是蛋白也不是没节有啥了吧？
Tanpa yapo.
也不的那么多。
Mm-hmm.
但这是什么他人不生啥的，这种是按什么的？最近咱们用这种那不用说下了。真的晓得，阳台他过这闹都是，但这个闹都是，这边中国对在家里去的是，这边中国的工厂票的有啥的，也还有啥嘛的啊？
Gonna show you it.
这工厂票有啥的，是厂票有
Um,
啥的啊？这
yeah,
边
yeah.
中那种厂票的有啥的，但这还
Mm,
有啥嘛的是？
mm,
晓得下不是在就退休了，那边中国这也是这边中国，但前两天呢是也不光票送那些。这下次的嘛，两头就第二啥了吧？像那这两岁光这东西，那过这两岁在光晓得这些天气，他就像他马光是，眼睛别的那这有啥？但这样的生产眼睛别的那这，我太光是，我拿票的是这些，他能过这两岁没头在光是，但这现在把他人的人的说，那光这老把说谁是，那也他们这两岁光的天气上涨了吧？
When Chicken Sumgan was staying at Drikung, was it a monk? Rabbi Insara?
吃完什么的，这些先把这
Oh,
不是两
so
岁的，
it's just a person who came from a different place. So his name was Dampa Yarpa. So he came from quite far away to see. He tried to see Jigdan Sumgun. So he first approached the attendant and he said that I'm experiencing serious spirit harm. I need to see Jigdan Sumgun. But at that time, Jigdan Sumgun was actually in retreat and he didn't receive anyone. And so the attendant then conveyed the message to Jigdan Sumgun, and Jigdan Sumgun said, tell him to practice Chenrezig. So the attendant then told the person to practice Chenrezig, and that's what he did. He practiced Chenrezig, he visualized Chenrezig. And then that demon came and he said, don't practice that. Don't practice Chenrezig. You should visualize, you should practice, I think, was it Vajra Bhairava? So it's some kind of wrathful form, kind of a demonic form. He says, do that, it's better. But he didn't listen and he just continued to practice Chenrezig. And the more he visualized Chenrezig, the further and further away the demon faded. So he began to fade away more and more and more. And that's due to the blessings of Chenrezig.
这几天没来的，平时有了，东脑筋泡沫弄完的是，东脑筋泡沫弄完的是，没多少呢，去弄不，意思，多把弄了，悄悄弄是，到弄了悄悄来是，悄悄，我这那是7点钟，是我这他们其他7点钟个的，这么多。
Milarepa said that from the perspective of an unrealized mind, those evil spirits and harm doers, the appearance of these evil spirits is a confused perception. So evil spirits are a confused perception from the perspective of an unrealized mind. But from the perspective of a realized mind, these evil spirits and harm doers are like Dharma protectors, and they help you develop cities or accomplishment.
真的咱多借钱多吧，也是借钱多人多的，也是小弟节目单见真讲求，让跟我没钱多呢，难怪在不想当这边呢，本身要求通啊，要完没送多，我在马路上的，但是这的是。
Then it says in the Gyalchen Sutra, the king of the Shakyas realized the non-existent nature of interdependent origination. By realizing the mind as space, he has no fear, even if he sees the hordes of Maras.
真的在边上，他在追求通话信，他把有完没信，他蛮追完了，他把西巴上，他把drop 的没把是我的。他把这是有空那么个是啥罗信，这也不知道嘛，弄他追在都怎么就是相当起来是。我那些插画啥的是追嘛的，是咱追送的先追在，要不我嘛说的追送的插画追有嘛才在插画的，我在追那同学的是的，但这也是说在追同学的是不懂了那样，三巧克力先没说，三巧克力有嘛的，三巧克力没对等这些东西，上元可能有嘛的是，这那都帮家没差不了。那这处东半这几 똑바 강 제야 쓰이라 완전 님이 스미 바고 세와다这有那么下呢他说人家똑바帮过的是这嘛방안에서 방자 니스미 바세 거르스 지수말라레베 레진 남포른 보치 시지 지미 젠데 원차치 송으로 시지 와미바 세인데비야 레진 남포른 보치 레지야 남포제 요라 아말라레베 레트라모 보라 레진 남포른 보치 시지미 젠데 원차치 시지 와미바 세인데비야 원차치 본도 정도
For example, though a confused being perceives a rope as a snake, that perception has no solid existence apart from the rope. But when he sees the rope free from confusion, the snake is absent from the rope. So when sometimes when it's getting dark and you don't see so clearly, you see a piece of rope, but you think it's a snake. You're afraid. You think there's a snake, but actually it just looks like that. But there never has been a snake. It's just a piece of rope. But it's just like that. So likewise, the male, female, naga demons and so forth, all harmful appearances do not exist apart from Dharmakaya. So it says literally, within the Dharmakaya, from that state of Dharmakaya, all of these do not exist. Therefore, without perceiving these demons as something to be abandoned, and while meditating in solitude in the mountains, whenever a conceptual thought of grasping at a demon arises, carry on integrating and realizing the non-dual nature of abandonment and remedy. So what this means is that when this appearance of a demon manifests, at that time you have to abandon dualistic thinking about this demon. So Milarepa also said that when the
렌지 남포 럼보치 렌지 남포 렌지야 남포제 요라테 럼보치 시지미 젠데 몬사르치 시제와 미바 세인데비야 몬사르치
when the thought of a demon this or like it says the precious thought of a demon appears within the unborn ground itself, it is truly kind of incredible, amazing.
我但没了这送我了查什么了？这送的老板意思，那这咱们都给的是的，老板意思。这东巴现在送完意思，这东巴现在这不能要买的是的。这去年现在超着给的是，可能这去年的给原来的去年的原来的咱们这超着给的是。这他妈现在新版，这他妈人家是像人家讲的，这老板要买的是。这现在这样些是我但这的咱们的你们去要偏跑有的是这样下来是。
Milarepa said to the demon as Rasingmo that when you think a demon is a demon, then a demon causes harm. When you see the demon as empty, then there is no demon. And when you know that demon is the dharmatam, is the reality itself, it becomes liberated. By cultivating compassion, love and compassion, if you recognize the demon as your parent, it will not cause any harm. If you recognize it as your own mind, it becomes an ornament to your practice, or it enhances your practice.
真的，他这心头，他这去，真的提起了他开始那啥啷么这样的，我谈是那啥啷么去，我这心头是研究把它了，你趟。 동아리 그 승을 세바 처리장 제바 섬주케 랑신 넘버 타발라 달라 마레 기jen제 현양 두지 당유 다 마레 jen 다 된다 중이 시앙 거라 마레 되는 두지 남시 메인 소라서 다 된다 중이 세 총lu 유 도바 다 메도바 하나마 좀스 다 차다 모선 유 도바선 연기 오요 바트레 달라 차로 그래서 메도 선은 마 야보 미 바트라 当这盘嘛这也我嘛说的当 demo 去，我这那说这些是年龄学的，那个我是我这等于 take on 年龄学生 take on 是用我服从 take on 学生的，真的那个吧这然后一起弄个的是，那个是学的是。
And the next section is taking sickness as the path. And so that section begins here where it says likewise. But there's no clear separation here in this text, but this is the third section. So likewise, if the yogin is tortured by sickness, suffering, or pain, still the mind is naturally completely pure, though conditioned by ignorance, holding the self and others, and manifesting the three poisons of seeing objects as beautiful, ugly, or neutral. So hold on a second. Okay, so it begins with the conditioned by ignorance here. So although the mind is completely pure, it is conditioned by ignorance of holding self and others as true, to possess true existence. And so what this line here implies is the progression of the 12 links of interdependent origination, which begins with ignorance. So ignorance falsely believes in the existence of self and others. And then due to this, we develop the three poisons: attachment, hatred, and ignorance. And these perceive objects as beautiful, that is attachment, as ugly, that is aversion, or neutral, that is ignorance. And so then if we become controlled by those three poisons, then the latter influences one creates karma. So basically, when we become controlled by these three poisons, then karma will take its natural course.
真的，他那边西去绿豆没法上用，他不会的结巴说，头上跟我那时候他头上我听的那都是差当吃吧，多差吃吧，都多下的那啥用可的是，弄到生理现在多生理是是不强着要谈啥的，我在写当的那是就强的是，别看等对吧，先对让你什么对的是，这点么可能意思。我听着这都这是那啥子都用个这是，那这几趟要做后边去面那是弄皮别看我们那么对的那啥有嘛的大不了。
These sicknesses abide in the upper, middle, and lower parts of the body, in the right, left, and middle, and are the nature of the three poisons. Attachment causes bile and blood sickness. Hatred causes wind and cold sicknesses. So cold means this kind of like generally a physical, the body is generally in a colder state, temperature-wise. And ignorance gives rise to phlegm ailments. So these are the three kinds of sickness: wind, bile, wind, and phlegm. And according to Tibetan medicine, it is said that every sickness belongs to one of those three kinds of sicknesses.
真的，面白去咱对吧？送的面就是咱面白面带起来的嘞，咱面白面带起来最大，这用的真的，他面在一起呢，偏这个在一起呢，没偏这个，咱面把开些，是开把开些有嘛？咱这是个刚才开过有，咱真的没没开，咱没没的是吧？咱我说好嘛，做这样没没的面有就嘛的，其他咱没没的。这送呢，真的，他说过有劲儿吧？说过有劲儿，后边说过里面，他忙的面先就忙不用没其他的。我真这送，这东西是这东西，但他的挺那些，这东这都是他，没开些啥子，这都是就去求这，但没得其他多人说这都嘛家样，然后但这几岁家样中，但没得有的，这那一个，那他的这那一开些跟那把东西罗下，我这气死，我他这
I'm
开些
sorry.
跟。
제가 괜찮으려고 디 투어 캄발라 투어 연구 여러 봐.
他这里嘛算的，
오케이.
真的，我们去这东从这东西是我去把它说的是的，他真的去个是，我真的他不是头发嘛是那搞工苦吧搞讲，我嘛的是的，他不是头他妈是那理工去头开始搞了，头拿那头嘛的头去说着个的是，说着个哇。 tablet to mambo yona
Not 통각나르와.
karkon ka shana ka to maris to tselo ton logeris
간이나 터가지도 답대.
o tablet to mambo yona pete ka to mambo yona de karkon to ka na ka to maris pento yo maris gira karkon ka na
간이나 터가는 로라.
데레 소조 바라 chima dong wan das supo zai ta par na sa ju ji chima dong de yang ye chima dong ma do pento yo mara ma zai chima je yona 我参加吧的是，我在那一类是的呢，旅游的开的是那他，俺那看这些个是旅游的就嘛些是碰不着的，我没想完了，但旅游送完了，送完满一把是我的旅游送的了是旅游的了的，那我当时去想这个，我没想了，这旅游送完满一是我旅游送完满，旅游送完满一是，旅游的就嘛些碰不，没想完是吧？ 没想到完，对，真的都会去出旅游，南头给他旅游送的了，是，但南头旅游送的，是一直在说他的，对，
남돈 늘리송을.
都会旅游送啊，满一把是，旅游的你老板有，满就是我南头给旅游送的了，马头什么呀？这边旅游的老板是用的有马来是的，送的啊，切把球的，你的。 切巴克丘你的戳吧有，没事，但是切巴克你们俩今年见，那你的戳吧没事，那万子别什么样，但那万子也什么节有了，那样子也是健康那送汤车吧，人东半年是那把些，切的是我的那万子也的，这是他他妈老乡了。
So then when a physician looks at the condition of the four elements, so basically that literally saying that when a doctor examines the body, then he may prescribe medicine, or a seer performs divination. So this is the mode of divinations that we often do. So actually, it's more common in the Tibetan tradition, and also maybe a bit in the Mongolian, but no one else seems to be really doing that. But so the Tibetans, they do that. We do divinations, and also we see a doctor who may say that, oh, this medicine would help, or if he can see that nothing will help, then he will say it's difficult. And then so prescribing medicine, performing divinations, and explains which entities are harming, performing various rituals. And so all of these different things that we try to do to counteract. Also, for example, people in the Tibetan tradition also make different fire pujas and burnings and dharmas and this and that. So all of that is just like, so here it says stopping up smoke at the top of the chimney instead of putting out a fire below. And so what this is saying is that, so if you have a lot of smoke stuck in your chimney, if you try to close all of the windows to stop the smoke from coming in, because it's already in, you can't really stop it, and no, it will still be there. So you can't take the fire out in that way. So you need to get to the root and put the fire out. And so it's basically it's a useless activity, and it is also like cutting a shadow instead of cutting a real body, like doing a treatment on a shadow than a real body. It's useless. So this body is composed of the collection of four elements and is held by conceptual thoughts which do not exist inherently. So so it's a bit funny. So it's not it's held, but so the collection of four elements, our body, arises from conceptual thoughts and therefore does not inherently exist. So because that mind itself does not inherently exist. And so therefore, since the body does not inherently exist, then how can it have this characteristic of sickness? And so the mind is grasping, that is, it believes that there is a sickness, that mind itself is without arising, cessation, and abiding. So it abides within emptiness.
我真的，他这妈妈这这东西啥，这东西他说他这样子的，俺嘛这东西的，他说俺嘛等下说，后来呢，他俺在那边开始拿的就这样子，我给点点许多，这就这样子点点许开始刚领去那边听过懂，人家没得去学啥的，但这没就特别清楚了，家大都是用家什么的面的，平常去乱的所以那有点像啥子吧？哦，这去听着去学啥的，对。真正有啥的，俺嘛，俺这是在考呢，俺做培育农吧，没上节有的，这上俺嘛，这课堂上见面是哪的嘛的，这是哪学啥的，这教吧这这样啥的，就问这样啥出噻，晓得教吧这样红的，课堂的上不会节有啥，吃完这些吧，这吃凶这些，我这里会节有的，但是俺嘛同样的，那就员工那冲说。我晓得个这里得去到有啥嘛的，晓得就把它说就用这种去的个，就把它先刚他会说真，他会就他把有了后把配个了把我把起了胖胖说啥的哇，他会就这天，
Mm-hmm.
这啥都过生啥的，晓得啥都过这里才开始，就把他说那把他咋的，他在见面就拿父母就拿有了，是吧？晓得说就送我啥的哇，晓得过去了话就送，他把这里再看一下对。Ja, det var bare ikke noen samme kjære. Det der som går jo ta med kjøses det nu det la la det jo jo kjære dom. Jo var kono kjære kjøsa rata. Ne ba jo to sa rata.
So, those are there's those rituals, right, that we do. So, for example, in the Tibetan tradition, when somebody is sick, often we invite a church practitioner, kind of to kind of a bit of like practice of exorcism, trying to kind of like take out the demon. And so sometimes they would go to the family's home, and they have this bone.
Jo man ses gonda dom ze do gonda dom.
And also the church is usually practiced in the evening, so they would come to people's homes in the evening with a thigh bone trumpet, and then they would like hit the sick person with that on the head. But people wouldn't mind because they had a lot of devotion. Of course, nowadays you would probably get into trouble if you did that. But in the past, the people would have great faith in that. So there was a tradition of inviting them. For example, I remember one time in my homeland, when I was still there, there was a family, and so there was the wife of the family, and
Men san chembo je sa ko men san chembo je ni ma.
it was quite a big family, and so the wife in the family was sick, and so they invited the church practitioner, and so they had a lot of people in the family, and they also had a little boy who who was a little monk, and he so when the church practitioner came, the boy then played a little trick on him. So he had this rope, and so he bound one side of the rope he tied that to that church practitioner's robe, to the shawl. And then the other side of the rope, he threw it outside of the tent. So they were living in this yak hair tents. So he brought that outside of the tent. And so then it was getting dark, and it was time to start the church ritual. And so the church practitioner went to the sick person, to her side. And while he did that, the little boy went outside of the tent, and he started pulling on the rope. And by pulling on the rope, then that he was pulling on the church practitioner's rope. So his clothing, his shawl. And so he thought that through his church practice, all the demons are coming, and he was getting really scared, even himself, even though he was the church practitioner. But he was so scared that he actually stopped the ritual, didn't complete it at all, didn't finish, and he just ran away. He just took off. So obviously, such a person is not able to heal a sick person.
哦，他纯粹的话，他其实呢，哦，他基本就当成哪怕是看他呢，大人这边那么多钱哪怕意思，我当时那么多那个意思，你他东岸这边你làm sao说的，你这东岸做这个人说，但是那啥家伙呢？在那啥我学情不讲，什么呀？我当时那啥情我问的在打，说你们俩去，在去那他们那啥在其他是上面的差不多啊。 제가 속 미반도我听那啥子手全部没办法，然后那啥子那是啥下来了，这是蛮难的了。那啥可能让人马做把对了哇，我针对去呢这是偏多是，做我听我说，那啥子从这里当俺全部那都上，咱们去从都着多啊。我听对的，但你趟东亚产品这边南套听见南，当南套听见南当过的是，留的上面去都是经济拉，咱就那我的多留的上面去都是经济拉呢。电视上嘛，对吧？但脑筋参起做起别参起了，多半没办法，不是多半的话，他康阳没办，真不会那钱呢。我他才是去过的，是真的上什么样的没对吧？他在东莞上去，我他点的他都是在会呢，他了点呢，真的什么样的没对吧？他在东莞上去，然后是那没吧？然后他把做个强教人不，好把球了，脑筋他做过去别什么样的没，但上去他把球什么的，什么东西当过的是强教什么几个的是。
So then it continues. So one's sickness is the sickness of the conceptual thought. So the sickness is really the sickness of self-grasping. And it does take the holding of sickness and suffering onto the path. So when you are very sick or you're in a lot of pain, try to look at the nature of that, and maybe you will see that there's actually nothing there, nothing really there. It's formless. The sickness does not actually inherently exist. It's just often we believe it does, and we think I'm so sick, but we keep fixating on that, and that often makes us more and more sick. And then transform this body through the blessings. No, it's not transformed through the blessings. So you transform the body into a blessed nectar, into nectar. So this here implies the practice of truth. So you're transforming your body into a nectar, and then you make it an offering. You give it away to sentient beings. This nectar-like body, you give it to all sentient beings, including harm bringers, leaving nothing remaining. I mean, leaving nothing remaining, actually, literally, it says, without hoarding anything back. So without keeping anything, without hoarding on to anything, you give everything away to sentient beings, including harm doers. And then you, again, cultivate bodhicitta. So you pray, may all beings have happiness, be free from suffering, and swiftly attain unsurpassed enlightenment. Yeah.
真的咋子这里咋张一当他是，咱个点过面是啦，几块的，这他是，真的他让几米吧，这他拿了嘛，让几嘛多吧，这用起么的，他对话了，这是上的，用起么的是，就是他上的钱了，对吧？这样他了，我们这个是，往这不古松头南巴这这，南巴下是了嘛，这古松头南巴下。真的，他你这咱你们俩去过的，是你这咱晓得进步可能了，让去让先多嘛呢？ 结完没吧？秋口周吧，他到他车吧，你的那啥时候切讲，你们俩这些，我那年被划下他，我他在那啥时候开始去呢，这就你们俩去下了，多那个的是，多被这那啥时候是的呢，你们俩去投票，我这时候去了的呢，那年被划下是说怕差投票，我成都去个的是，我在这边嘛那年吧，他投啥的的，也是这不把的。 那这样那啥，不要我们在播呢，要播的，我讲播呢，这啥的，就这么来的。他，我那啥建议前面那啥的，播他比如当播农民，你从那啥东啊，那叫人家建议工作，我真的这个你们俩去下，这些呢，偏拖啥的，真的，人家夸家的，那人家把他妈的有了，这让一夸家说他是不要，我这就有啥的，但是过人家把点那啥是穷够了，这人都提夸家他是不要，这你们俩提讲那说呢，别呢。 no 吃嘛去住呢，吃嘛拿弄弄，我到 no 吃嘛这个 no 在吃嘛钱不，我 no 些这个住，吃嘛别拿过头通过了吃嘛求钱不，no 他吧这些都，帮忙你没别让中间一些求个，到时候真的三片那路那多，是这这六年来在其中的，感觉到在那啥东亚所说的呢，对在你们俩当中我特别，我这里有啥的。 那成都啥的，这帮年你是没把晓得是，帮家的年不你是，这你是帮到这没把，这年不年都过来嘛，这年来呢，瞧着新不，那路上讲的，这那时候这做那么多这个重叠的这是，重叠的这等于个 今天这场戏马着的，真的不你选择都是要马的，我这没把错的是。
Then it is as before, and he goes through the fivefold path again. So you first cultivate bodhicitta, and then you visualize yourself as the yidam, appearing yet empty, and then you abide in equipoise, and so then you visualize the guru at a secret place, and so then when you realize, let's see. And so the next is Mahamudra, so after the guru. So then when you realize the mind, the Dharmakaya is the Dharmakaya that is primordially unborn and free from elaboration, you realize the nature of the sickness. And so maybe through your practice, actually, the sickness itself may become an enhancement, in improving your practice. And also, the sickness purifies the negative karma and those karmic imprints. For example, when Milarepa ate poison that was given to him by Geshe Tapuba, who tried to poison him, and then finally he regretted and tried to take it back, and he said that, please, when Milarepa started to feel ill, then Geshe Tapuba said, can you just transfer the sickness to me? I want to take it onto me. But Milarepa said that there is no way to transfer it, and there's also no purpose in transferring it, because the sickness is my ornament for practice, or it's my it enhances my practice, and so it can actually be beneficial for one's practice. So for one, it purifies the negative karma and the imprints, and also as you take it as a path, it improves your practice. And all the sickness comes from this negative karma. All suffering comes from negative karma. And if you're able to continue your practice, then that karma will become purified. So then, for example, first, the degree of sickness becomes the cause for purifying one's propensity toward non-virtuous karma. For example, when a pot is washed and the dirt inside surfaces, one knows that the pot is clean. Similarly, realizing sickness free from acceptance and abandonment is the self-arising co-emergent wisdom dharmakaya. So when you, it is just like washing a pot. So as you wash the pot, then all of the dirt in the pot surfaces. So it becomes revealed, but then through the surfacing, it also becomes removed, and therefore, as a result, you may actually see the nature of the mind, realize the nature of the mind through this experience of sickness and suffering. It can really enhance your practice. And then this is the non-duality of abandonment and remedy. So meaning that there's nothing to be abandoned and nothing really to be done to it, to remedy it. Because it mainly is the mind, the thoughts that lead to sickness. And so that once you realize that the mind that is grasping or kind of holding that sickness does not exist, then there's also no sickness to grasp at.
真的咱们先不说了，还现在是搞吧，那边门把出过，然后专门这些门把洗完，但最近可能会跑墙出过，反正都会给这洗完就说，但是马路上这些这还可能。
Then the great Brahmin Saraha said, the darkness which has existed for many eons is dispelled by one instant of light. Likewise, all the dense propensities of samsara are dispelled in an instant by realizing one's own mind.
这种咱那趟东儿孙悟空中央面上几去，见了这头没见过，帮年你是没吧？帮年你是没吧？多把吃不是的，面是，但这趟俺做面啥学那个面嘛咱这口嘛，嘛不，那你嘛个就恐怕都说那面啥是的，他人着着是的，是路手是他们都开始穷了吧？苦的苦，累死我，光瞧他们家是对的。 take pen take pen is the my pen take pen maris. This also Yamnachi, then they need to the Johnson at the ladies or Tenry look so gentle. Out it. But then got something I love chips on Daniel Zurata long matter. What do you love you or it? I won't get on him on worship. That this game got channel yet the last smoking as on worship. You know, that con cars those, you know. On logic Chinese, that logic Chinese. Or mere revijay Samanus. Mere revijay Samanus. Mere support no was a last come mere revijay Samanus. Mere to hear this was support no was not revijay Samanus.
Though one may experience sickness and suffering without depending on medications and treatment, one should realize the non-duality of abandonment and remedy. So we take a lot of medicine for all kinds of things, and we think we need to take medicine. But actually, in the past Kagyu masters, they never took any medicine, and also didn't do all kinds of rituals and so on. They generally had the view of whatever happens is karma. I take refuge in the 3 jewels, and if that helps, then only that will help. And if that doesn't help, then nothing will help. Also last year, I was in Lapchi, and I met an old acquaintance of mine. He's the Umza there. But he actually, it's been a while, and he's quite old, and he didn't actually really recognize. He's the Vajra master. So he didn't really recognize me because he's quite elderly, but anyways, we did talk. And he said, now I'm 82 years old, and my entire life I've not eaten a single pill of medicine. Because medicine doesn't it harm you? Isn't there toxic substances in there?
Oh, that's the Lando, isn't it? Oh, that's the mother got you command they said, Robanium, that's a rich idiot, Massa, the Losumado. There is just on that whole Nara, that Shimjuchi and Yoroa. The whole non Drumne Mambo, Yora, Drumne Mambo to Drumne Jacha Jeshte, got you to look at Drumne those that Jacha Jeshura. What a rich it, that's a Robanium, this is on the Massa to Koya Javasaman, they say, because it's from the Matom, she thought that's as a marite. See?
So this is really the tradition of the past Kagyu masters. They just spent their whole lives in practice, and they never took any medicine. There was just no tradition of ever taking medicine. And also nowadays there have been some like researchers in Tibet, and they found that all of the practice places in Tibet, like 80% of the practice places in Tibet are actually Kagyu places. So, and it's the Kagyu tradition, really, therefore, most of Tibet that really spent their life in practice, and I didn't really think too much about death and what's going to happen. They just feel like I will stay however long I am meant to stay, and I didn't care about it any more than that.
真的，现在咱七八两千就是，咱这里咱那三两千送，咱七八两千是吧？咱七八了，你米几年是呢？是咱七八了，你是没把年们呢？是，这到咱们这门头见到那时实现咱们这就是呗，就绿碰碰的你，反正嘛，的你讲多少人嘛多少人，七八一般年们没办就是。咱我说年们七边那搞了，这见门头吧，没不在用个了哇。 这是我们俩其实说的，这是我们俩去他们那去外讲的是，基本没有听着用过的是，就他刚刚说，我们俩今年这样个把的是，就说这东南去他们那也不的，开始有才查的有的是。
And next is taking death onto the path. It says then by integrating various unfavorable conditions onto the path, the 5 aggregates of the illusory body, whether or not left behind, will not experience the fear of death. So we will encounter all kinds of difficult circumstances, difficult situations. They always come. And in these moments, we have to be able to practice. If you are able to practice in those moments, you will not experience fear at the time of death. And so it's quite important for a practitioner to be able to accept, to tolerate difficult circumstances.
真的，咱中医去，怎么们中是吧？咱中医，中医吃了多块糠，这讲这米多吧？这是中医吃完的那块，那啥了所用的哇？这多块喝点劲，那这米多呢？好多那玩意就是真正在咱们吃多，好多那玩吃个嘛的是，这好多过个嘛的是，咱们吃刚才在吃上的，真的中医可能那就是咱们吃的好多那玩意就是。他做这他们俩这种我先就没有写，他们俩这种我写过，就是他们俩这种我写送的，这面多呢，这块多那我去嘛的是那不是写的看，我自己他在宽被去年在趟六千那么前边去年呢，去年嘛，今年一米多，是我这我怕多嘛，我先买不出，现在这么的，我先买不出，是的，在这个我们的小在进步，那趟可能写了又被小在进步进的，就是这样的差着的是，别人呢，这就那个同大堂。同大堂就是那么浪话，因为就是说，这些就是那把下的，这样情况的，就是那么浪说，那把这个搞我这听着了，那么浪的，我真的我也没把这全都不认识，是吧？没别个把么就是没哪个把就跟嘛的，总多。我真的中国是给你他不加是，但中国说也怕他们是给你他那个了，我真的去过的，那把一般的没学下呢。
这中国的过来看的，
这就是这样情况，那把有了哇。
嗯
那边搞不有人，那边人家看了
嗯
哇，那有
嗯
就是那马拉话，这个他没办法会有马来是他，
嗯
这那几他就是那话发的，但是俺那娘娘去的，我写的去，那就是那马拉松的这几块钱这个哇，搞不了，我这
嗯
西口是去，
嗯。So then, by realizing the conceptual thoughts of the gross and subtle four elements within the unborn, so it's funny. So by by realizing that like the four elements arise from the coarse and subtle conceptual thoughts and do not inherently exist as they arise from the unborn mind itself. So by realizing that, you will not be obstructed by the appearance of the bardo. So in the during the dissolution at the time of death, when you recognize the dissolution of the four elements, when you recognize the four elements now, then at the time of death, when the elements dissolve, you will also recognize this process of dissolution. And when you recognize it as the mind, then the bardo appearances will not manifest. So this is the meaning of this sentence here. And then, so when one realizes the inseparable nature of Dharmata, the mother luminosity of all sentient beings and those who are habituated to the practice of Dharmata, one is liberated like the full moon rising, so that dusk and dawn are illumined without gap. So, so when you, so it's a funny sentence. So when you, in your lifetime, you practice Mahamudra, and that is called the luminosity of the path because it's your practice. And then there is the ground luminosity, which is, this is here the mother luminosity. So the mother luminosity is your natural fundamental state, the fundamental luminosity. And then there is that luminosity that you have practiced, that you have consciously practiced. And that is like the childlike, I don't know about sentient beings here, but so it's the childlike and the mother-like luminosity. And through habituation of the path luminosity in your lifetime, at the time of death, you will recognize it. And this is called the meeting of the mother luminosity with the child luminosity. As a result, you become liberated at the time of death. And so this is this part, and the other part of the sentence here, so you're liberated like the full moon. When the moon is full, it's completely round and full. There is no spot of darkness in that moon. And it remains that way until the next day. So the full moon is the 15th day. Until the 16th day, it remains that way. Until that day, I guess that's the meaning of without gap here. So there's no dark spot. There's no dark spot. Everything is illuminated in the full moon. And so when you recognize luminosity at the time of death, it's just like that. There's no dark spot, just like the full moon. So you fully recognize and you become indivisible with the ground luminosity, the mother luminosity.
真的咱去就没些，七万这边多花钱你让当时咱去就做，我那些七万是钞票嘛的是，你那他那跑在从把这钱，那七万做谁了哇？我真七万钱你让当过来是真的，那流动就给啥他们这多半没别，那么公交确实当时，我咱上当啊说就拿了点那吃花钱着呀，他在咱们那有，但是呀等去咱们把，在公交上面求油，然后就码头那求油，咱们当说说，我这里当强对的是。我真的难怕当年被身边他们去对话上的，东岸上去，你要是那没把让他把做个强调了不？说三 D，我当然强调三 D 结构的，我点是光不，留一当大工，那了吧也没把这话工，我他提高了，就我从抽康啥的，先给知道，那说别嘛啊，你们等经过是最终上街他们去就我那嘛的光过的，是他那嘛的光，我真的让这个的。可是对外贴卡，他破完了领导那来着，对外贴卡可别拿的，红马不是公司的，那啥嘛呢？伢子穷的几窝从从的那马堂，从的那面头上，头卡了前边那马堂你是没别，过上三几吧没别从了，两把的下说的体育那嘛，这样晓得情况啊，三几吧没别，这两把下过来送的话。
생계기 쇼타드네 송여러분.
생계니, 저 동사성 생계니,
Okay.
생계니 다 동사성 다.
Okay. So when you're approaching death, lie down in the lion posture, holding the concept of death when there is in fact nothing to die. Bring that experience onto the path without expectation. So again, there is no real death. It is just if we think there is death, then there is death. And so then so at the time of death now, make a full offering to the guru, or before that, make an offering to the guru and sweet jewels of your body, wealth, and roots of virtue. So if there's anything that you are attached to, any possessions, it is good to let it all go before the time of death. And just even if you can't directly do something, you should think, I'm offering it all away. And then again, so at the time of death, how you take it as the path, then again, first you cultivate bodhicitta. So you pray, may all sentient beings have happiness, be free from suffering, and swiftly attain unsurpassed enlightenment. And then after that, again, you cultivate, you visualize yourself as the yidam. Then a foot above your crown, just above your crown, like an arm's length. You visualize the guru seated on a lion throne on top of a lotus cushion, a cushion of lotus, sun and moon. So sits the guru, and the guru should be seen as the embodiment of the Buddhas of the 3 times. Then, so that's the guru, and then next is actually a sort of poa, and then at the center of your own navel, in the navel, you visualize a red home, which has the nature of your own consciousness, radiating light, and then it rises through the central channel and leaves the crown opening, the door of Brahma, and goes into the heart of the guru above your crown, and then dissolves into his heart. And then your mind and the guru's mind has merged inseparably. And so then you have become one with this unborn mind. And then you should stay in that state of equipoise, of Mahamudra.
근데 말아, 샘다 근데 냠다 샤디나. 나내로 당 냠바 샤디. 근데 레장 냠모 세계 제바 박자 당 제바 박자완 타로 베스. 저 타로 베스. 근데 가죠. 로베 상지 신감 넘버 타바. 고som 도제 장. 도제 장. 로바 장조 상지. 도제 장 예르미 바타 상지로 그래스.
So then while you rest within the state of meditation, so it is, what does it say? Meditate that all obscurations of karma. You don't meditate that karma obscuration are purified. They are purified through your meditation. So because you're resting in meditative equipoise, all of your obscurations, your karmas, your afflictive emotions, all the imprints become purified through your meditation. And as a result of that, you achieve enlightenment. You become inseparable with the Buddha Vajradhara in the pure lands, like in Kechara.
等那他在俺这三那路桥在前不讲了，他那地铁他送自己做把他们去爬车的呢，这拉萨他在这把他要嘛，这把是多少要嘛的，多少要嘛的，听你那都是讲抢着个嘞，都是讲也没上街着个嘞。
So as you abide within the natural state of mind that is Mahamudra, within the state of Mahamudra, there you're free of all dualistic thoughts of subject and object. And due to that, there is no obscuration. In this non-dual mind, there is no obscuration. That is why all obscuration are purified, and you become enlightened, inseparable from the Buddha Vajradhara.
真的他才到了，那就是嘛，滚的就被就的，那就是嘛，滚的就被就，现在教就在现实里。真的破坏性呢，那就是嘛，那就是把半点长通来说，但可能等把点桥来说呗，没错，那错那错，那错人生花点长多么着长几把呢？当什么种就是用个的，七八些元，那么多，七八些那么多些，那么多些的，但既然那么多些接受的，现在那么多些多少啊？nam thọ de des ka chu ne chi ban jo che zong so se ba ta ta chi de sa de chi.
And then in the full conduct of the Yogini Tantra, that is Achakasambhara Tantra, it says when the concept of called death arises, the yogi performs the transference of consciousness and is received into a pure land by deities, rukas, and so forth, holding various lotuses, victory banners, canopies, and instruments. And so it is all a thought, birth and death. When you're born, it's the thought that's born, and when you die, it's a thought that dies. So one thinks one is born, one thinks one dies.
其他这甚至多嘛呢？这把没别，就可那把当天把那面我最近多配推送我去了吧，绑架的你们娘是啷个？他就看着我这，这个他把他你他那边就可现在的我去了，上街先看南把他把车把七把因是我真的，我那天马路上这是基本上我的多才是的。
And then thus the primordially unborn mind, which abides in the Dharmakaya, is, when introduced by the authentic Holy Guru, actualized and practiced in the non-duality, free from acceptance and rejection. So this is basically the same meaning as what we have explained.
这上街新港那么真早被上街把你的是，真看着过来，见的上街桥你的什光办的上街桥，那么见的上街特别他那他三年两前的真上街特别是，所以我听个都三说在过说，真的上街特别是，人家三的解决呢，是人家三的，他在怕脏嘛说呢，这sem脏嘛说过了，解决呢，上街没的什么见没，上街什么见是1万尺都要嘛的，是这种。
The fruit of the two purifications that Dharmakaya is experienced in this life, and this accomplishes the pure Buddha field. One attains complete enlightenment. The Vajradakini tent states, the supreme Buddhas in this life attain a Buddhahood by meditating on the mind. On the mind. No Buddhas or sentient beings exist apart from the precious mind. It is basically it is what attains enlightenment in this life is nothing else but the mind, the meditating mind, and therefore there is no difference between Buddhas and sentient beings. There's just this mind, the precious mind.
这WKS 他确实在看了看对质量。一那个的多块没把广东讲完的，可是马桶把这个送到没时间，可能就没去办讲完。我这就原来要不去的，那什么情况？这看了看对，这用个的是他这样的。
From this Dharmakaya, the activities manifest accordingly without conceptual thought, like wish-granting jewels. The wheel of non-exhaustion of body, speech, and mind manifests unceasingly and spontaneously until the end of samsara. So then, if you're able to practice well in this way, you will then naturally benefit beings according to their needs.
我真的光怕笼统被举例，是吧？这光怕笼统举例，举下这里，这个什么多那么个切心的，强求sem je多这样子，这个也帮周围从一路到就started 光这啦，啥的，笼统。
Then the Bal Gompa Lungden Tantra says, like space without conceptual thoughts, the enlightened mind holds the Vajra, and the Tathagatas benefiting of migrators will manifest like the wish-granting jewel.
我真的知道了，嘞，那啥的，上了嘛，那了吧，穷我不得啥，穷我不有点好像他穷我有啊，这娘是让那年穷他们去，就便有天他们去点几把银币，香港那么大错吧，你错吧银弄，电弄中他就得人不些，上街他们去准备，穷他的谁去支备给，就叫他们去浪费，同个穷我不得了，蛮对米吧，天天看了，看米吧，天支备没用吧，给不起了，连送的是。
And thus, if one practices this fivefold path, which is complete and unmistaken, uproots all faults and develops all excellent qualities, this also accomplishes the Buddha Pura. This is the complete collection of the Buddha's teaching of the three precious Pitakas and 4 classes of Tantra and so forth, and assembles the essential practices. So there is no Dharma not included here. If one were missing from this, it would not bear fruit or result.
我真的那么就开幕，但是那么算了，这个老公开幕，但我没穷是没俺是他没把吃了吐了读了，那位年不及什么当时我但那位在年不，他说就是当个嘛的是，我这浪不你那浪姐没吃是浪不去让啥呢？浪不节制的我要嘛的是，所以说真的原本的是，总之他那边穷我点，我不你要是弄完运气没把讲嘛吃不是，我在穷我不的那年来去过的也种多。
And to re-emphasize the importance of this practice, the practitioner should not be distracted by elegant words, but should stay focused. And just as when an elephant is found, there is no need to continue searching for its footprints. And therefore, yogins remain in solitude, exert yourselves, and practice this fivefold path unceasingly. The results will rain down like an avalanche. The ambrosial teachings of the profound meaning, the quintessence of the heart, are taught by the Lord of the three worlds, the unequaled Trigungpa.
往这公把这老送人家呀的。
Oh.
真的，咱俺俩出去我不，咱们都是对的是，咱最初去他们家，咱们结巴进那老忙不，在我这我去结巴结成学校有了哇。但都对的是，进那咱俺俩是对对是进那汤不，但是什么讲他们一同俺俩去上不当，这什么讲他们对吧？对呀，等我吃呀，什么讲他们上节特别去，同去上不当。 现在提起了旅游当 platform， 这可惜我们在讲，这里几万人那人看了说那么多钱抢也没把在讲，哦，真的，这咱们那路可能这咱们可惜不多，但有人是在讲，我在这里我话去想那这个的，有人呢，去后可惜讲那这有同的干嘛可，我是讲那这里的，哦，这里咱们去那个的，就上场的有人是。
And so this fivefold path can be practiced really extensively. It can be practiced for many years, and it's a comprehensive path that includes preliminary practices and different main part practices. So it could be quite elaborate, but also it could be quite concise. You can also summarize it. You can just practice it in a short time. So you first think that I will practice for the benefit of all sentient beings, so that they will be happy and free from suffering and attain enlightenment. Next, you visualize your body as the Yidam deity for some time. Then you visualize the guru either at your crown or at your heart, inseparable from Vajradhara. And then at the longer part of your practice, you stay meditating in the natural state of the mind. And then in the end, you dedicate. If it's longer, you can do that for a few hours. If it's shorter, you can do all of that in 5 minutes. So within that, the fivefold path, everything is included.
哇，咱之前咱前两天老长了的，之前咱们经过某年面职工别写这都是你把的，那么十多年可年纪可，后几年可，写起完的小的没去，一啦人那是那出点人钱是吧？啊，假如把做事是吧？
Sultan Rinchen,
出点人钱是，一啦没老钱的啦，对吧？得出点。
So so actually I already read that part, but this is the English is a bit funny. So anyways, so in the end it says so these teachings, so the results fell down like an avalanche, and these profound teachings are the quintessence of Trigungpa's heart as he has taught it to me, Tsultrim Rinchen.
我到听球，他把讲的，他给我买的把子，我就吃下来多。听球他这多的，也讲的噻。
你中的印象了，有么的？
啊，那我们都，但自己，我真的他这，如果泡沫出来可，我点学啥，我点学啥时间有了，听到了开始从我身呢，他听我点培养着我在种的，听到了他强学现在在讲呢，适当才，那也你听着的是，适当才是你们俩去头个的是。这动物间工作我才说动物写出来是，我真的适当间做话才说往对头个的是，适当就个的是，一些俺那买弄一些吃个的种的，我这今年讲能多吃你听着个的是，我什么动物现在多，但这这是听着动物写出个的是。
新modern, eh?
Simon, da var Sandra. Det Simon kan du gå how Sandra besinne si.
A house.
How Sandra besinne si man mo. How Sandra besinne si. How Sandra besinne si man mo. Andrea på så här. Det där var en syndrom.
Sarve.
但这么着可是啥？这么着，没动着的，他没去动着，没动着这是。我真的是没动去往去对，现在没动去那把写个的是，等多下子往去对，哪晚事情弄出来，哪晚他们事情弄出来是，真的说一些吃个的是。我真的那边呢就是咁对，俺家是那头个的是，真的是会对的，东西才吃个的，是会对东西了。在我家里见到是往对头个的是，这让先你可以亲戚老头个的是，你们也是吃个的是。他那吃在全部工作在点么，你头个的是，旅客那把些个的是。他那点么见到是往对头个的是，但是全也是吃个的是。他那我外去对他那长多见看到是往长多个东西你头个的，长多个你头个的是，用么长多你头个的是。六千个，六的这样个，东西写个的是，我真的长多见着吧，是说，往对头个的是，这给啥个的是，长着嘛的是，这吃着比些，头个的是，我这点把他们提同我不的，瞧着起不是那，好的，我他真的是，我这吃着比吃个的是，我这心里是。
And Mahamudra, the Qigong master Mahamudra, he also wrote something about the benefits of the fivefold path. It's called the Ngaten Shakta. It's like a treatise where he speaks about the benefits of the fivefold path. And so now the benefit of bodhicitta, when you give rise to bodhicitta, hatred becomes an ornament of practice, or hatred becomes practice, and this leads to the pacification of the certain kind of spirits, like aggressive, kingly spirits, like Yarbos. And it also brings under control those beings with hatred. And the mirror-like wisdom will arise. And then secondly, when the benefit of practicing the generation stage, the Yidam deity, it leads to one is able to take attachment as the practice. So attachment becomes an ornament. And this pacifies as a female class of demons. Male and female. A certain class of male and female demons. And all those beings with attachment become are controlled. And when you are able to, it says, outshine all appearances, so you recognize appearances, and as a result, the discriminating wisdom arises. And then through the practice of Guru Yoga, pride becomes a practice, and it pacifies the demon of the son of the Lord, son of the gods, like the demon of infatuation. And that brings under control all those beings with pride. And when you then are able to grant blessings on yourself and others. And from that, the wisdom of equanimity arises. And then through the practice of Mahamudra, ignorance becomes an ornament of practice, and it pacifies the harm caused by nagas, and all those ignorant beings are brought under control, and the wisdom of Dharmadhatu arises. And then through dedication, jealousy becomes an ornament of practice, and it pacifies certain like a malicious like ten and karaludang ten there's also nagas and ten are kind of malicious sort of demons, and so those demons become pacified, and then those jealous beings are controlled, and you don't lose your virtue, and the all-accomplishing wisdom arises. And as you practice each of these 5 dharmas, they become stable, and so through stabilizing them, they each become Mahamudra, which is why they are called a path of Mahamudra, a stage of Mahamudra. So first, so when all these demons are pacified, everything arises. The 5 demons arises as Mahamudra, and so first, bodhicitta arises as an unobjectified state. Then the Yidam deity arises as the union of appearances and emptiness. All appearances are seen as empty. And through Guru Yoga, all of samsara and nirvana appears as the display of the Guru. And for Mahamudra, awareness is seen as empty awareness, and dedication. So that is when the mind is free from those 3 spheres, this dualistic grasping, that becomes pure dedication and arises as Mahamudra. So that's why it is called the bodhicitta Mahamudra and the the Yidam Mahamudra and the Guru Mahamudra, and the dedication Mahamudra.
기타 차송스 되네 다트네 그다음 지되네 지바용 다당리사.
So this completes the teachings, and we have now time for questions. So I just see Spanish questions here, but I don't know, I did get one on my text message. Should I ask this one first, or?
Go ahead, Ina.
Okay, so the first question then is, I'm wondering about how we vow to keep our samaya of always feeling love for others. This is Garjan's teaching. However, is our samaya broken if we enter into the non-conceptual state of Mahamudra? Because it seems to me that love for all sentient beings is the basis of bodhicitta, but are we supposed to let go of this? There are the 당연히 담지 여러와 담지 뒤에서 semchina 제바 되려와
레레.
이 같은 음식 다 송게다 이 되네 계승한서 다 남도 매베 사게 쳔보나라 네송나 되네 티갑라 semchin 삼bat당게 요마르와 되네 티갑라 담지 냠로 마르베 가이사 제바 디야 공거를 끼고르와
제 냠그 말에 삼세 냠다 말했어. 당보가 또 창조 샘지 그 와, 대강은 심전세 와요. 대강 차대 침보 내에디나 차대 침보 내에디 그 창조 샘티 주얼 때는 예담데다 정말 창조 샘 때는 총을 세라서 가서. 와도 내가 정말 창조 샘 토도를 세라서 될 때는 냠냐 치디디 차대 침보 냠냐 치디 대강 심전도세 당거 말와. 심전도세 마타나는 담세 냠로야 말와. So this 심지어 노체 당나한테 냠도래 슬라피오래.
So you're not breaking
근데
your
그 편토요래. 그 카드 편토요래. 심지어 다系统 소소 찾아서 뭐 보면 봐. 자세 공대비 편토요 심지어 노체 봐.
So you do not break your samaya because, as we mentioned before, all of those 5 paths, the 5 dharmas, arise from bodhicitta. So first we cultivate bodhicitta, which is a love for all beings. And then when you practice Mahamudra or you practice the Yidam, as we mentioned, it all comes from bodhicitta. First, there's always bodhicitta, so it all arises from bodhicitta. So it all comes down to bodhicitta. And so because of that, because it arises from bodhicitta, you won't harm a sentient being. And if you don't harm a sentient being, you're not breaking your samaya. If you harm a sentient being, then you're breaking your samaya. But if you meditate in Mahamudra, not only do you not harm sentient beings or break a samaya, but you are actually benefiting sentient beings through your practice of Mahamudra.
真的심지어 담지데 제와 체인로야. 마 저다 침보다 심지어 담이 총도 공표래. 다른 타과 제랑 뭐 와치기로 와서 뭐 와자라 심지어 담이 동 편토야 뭐 표로.
And even though you practice Mahamudra, you never separate from your love for sentient beings, and you still love sentient beings. And also later in the end, it again you dedicate for sentient beings with great love. There's English here. On one hand, there is the instructions to look at your mind, but then there is the quote which Drupal Rinpoche has shared, saying that no Buddhas have ever seen the mind. Can Rinpoche please help me understand this, as it appears to me as a contradiction? 당에서 지당에서 생긴 거 못하고 그래서 여러분 이런 다 드링양 그냥 농식 송인바 이 개발탐 양 지크라 개발탐 상계양 지기요 말이 통요 말이스 되니 프랑기 삼나데 지신 갈다지에서 말베스 되니 다 텔라타 코레스라 되니 양 사요 말아봐 상계기 통요 말아
这个这呢，这那么多身边跟同嘛，上节去才有嘛，那么多哈。但我不是说的有嘛的些，同样有嘛的些，那票说多过是，让的写的多把它写，没得路被在那个，让你写的从把它写在有啊，那让的一些的，我看他们的一些就用，对了，我也经常这样的，让你写的从把它写在有啊。我真的让人家亲的，这说人家提起就来，哈苦或者什么子，我不说的了，等于这是上节跟同学的，4个月了，然后身边同学的这，我不说的了，差了我在那说，我不说的了，行了，等谁把兄弟个哇，这有嘛的，但我们年纪的，làm để là ngã thì làm để xong rồi哇，一直就有，但说在娘子用呀嘛，做这就有两在我不说的了，这都要需要嘛的是。
So what is meant is that it is not a material thing that is to be seen, and as such, the Buddhas have not seen it. The Buddhas have not seen a real sentient being, and it all does not really exist inherently. So there's no material entity that inherently exists. So the meaning of this is that it is something that you have to see for yourself. And Tilopa said that it is something, Mahamudra is something that you have to realize yourself. You have to make an effort to see it yourself. It is not something, this self-knowing awareness, this wisdom is not something that can be shown. It is not something that can be described by words. It is only something that can be experienced personally. But it's not a material thing. That is why has not been seen. So if we would say it's something that the Buddhas have seen, then it would be something that actually exists as a material thing, a substance that can be seen and that can be found. But it's not a substance like that. It's not a material thing. It's something that you can only really understand through an experience. It cannot be expressed through words or through thoughts. It can only be known through personal experience.
Yeah, 真的。
Ina, there are 3 questions in the Q&A. The first one is from Joseph. He says, do we need initiation or empowerment to perform Mahamudra? Can we start to focus on empty awareness even without completing the preliminary practices, or when we cannot visualize idam deities clearly yet?
可是，
자기의 전부 고민하다라 왕 고기도에서 왕차다고 고기도에서 teni benang munro deso sama masang ngun di rimba munro ke rimba tamen da yora teni di sama masang ngun la teni sem tombani na la kom ke nia ne thuki yorwes
喂，这趟往迎接门国家这什么都是么多是吧？所以你们来去通呢，所以我的强呢强学什么的过去的，我的那个这趟工作人吧，忙不有的意思，咱工作去特别的，刚才看过多，没上嘛来看在去我做工作，他说我在白桥这样做一个，让在工作可能他们老在工作，我说是确定我在工作机构呢，他们工作机构他们老在培训我做起个的，我曾经去参地的呢，所以呢参地的呢。 我现在对是刚才看不到我这上马机，这当我这机他们那都要个了，我真的，我这咱马他们那在你们来提纲刚出头去的呀，这个是怎么做的？
You don't need a special empowerment to practice Mahamudra. You just have to know how to do the practice. And so for that, most important is love, compassion, and bodhicitta. And then for the preliminaries, there are a lot of levels. There's many different stages of practice that one can do. But that's actually a little bit difficult because most people have a lot of work to do. And if you would do the Fivefold Path of Mahamudra and row the preliminaries, it would probably take you at least a year. And that is if you're doing it in a retreat. If you're doing it in a retreat, it would take you about a year. So that it seems a little bit difficult. Of course, if you can do it, that's better. But even if you can't do it like that, you can still practice as much as you can.
Thank you, Ina. And there's another question saying, in my everyday life, I don't have any concept of demons. Should I interpret demons as really strong afflictions and people that challenge me?
Die Quran, 지금 die die Dinger shira, 남도 die Kormanjong shira sam mara. Jadi die kare ngarangi nyumong barves yana ngala nöba tang kenjiris chidang kare Canada uji pogoris.
这些的才是挺难多的。这当等这才这样噻，这些的做的，他这有把送的，但是这说说，这期这样噻做的，他这人什么来着？这些种送的话，你把口气不节约吧？我这点呢，这些做这东西创个啥？可以等这些做完这弄做的话，那么什么几百毛的话。跳档，这可见这种有的做了口的，这像这经常什么方面，这有没嘛？现在开讲们把下乡这个是。
So basically, like a demonic influence or like a spirit, a demon, is really something that we basically manifest through our own grasping mind. So because we think there is one, often that's what makes us see one. And often some people often insist, no, there is a demon. So not everyone experiences it the same way. But some say that there are real demons, but if that's not a concept to you and you don't know about demons, and you can just leave it at that. You don't have to think about them. You keep not thinking about them.
这样咱们做拍后口，没拿这个事情就没关系嘛，都上可惜我都这地方自己拉过样下了吧。
So if demon and so on is not a concept to you, then also you don't have to think about it at all. You don't have to make it a concept. All of these instructions are really meant for those who still believe, for who it is a concept, for them to not have that concept. But since you don't have the concept, you don't have to create it.
真的。
Thank you. And then there is a question from Laura. And the question is it possible to rest in the nature of mind while engaging in daily activities? Or can you only rest in the nature of mind when you are sitting in practice?
开始。
So Chulam Gikabla Semi Movon la Neto Kitues Yana Yinchiminchik Tunes on Gom Yakore.
我到这里是这就当当我做题推算我们这样的来长波对这叫他们那头马上上位，真的提起这到我们家这两百多呀，这是做的。真的但是说你们要不我们在看啥去法了吧？你们要不我们国家他们那方面要修的，但是叫他们对呢，那罗家年都什么？没来这边罗家年都什么了的？ 平常没被解决的一种了，但罗大年都什么蛮有大头的，真的平常没被解决的，说的你们这你们这也没吧？你们家的也说也没吧？真的，其他都要修的了。
So the reason why we speak about meditation sessions where we meditate is because beginning practitioner, at first we are not able to always meditate. We can't stay with the meditation. And so we set aside these times where we meditate in a session in order to gain that stability. And not everyone is the same. There's different practitioners. It's also possible that somebody already has that stability, and then actually in the ideal case, in the best case, you would actually look at your mind, you would meditate, practice in all your day-to-day activities. And that's actually ideal. Milarepa had said, in whatever you do, whether you sit, lie down, stand, or walking around, always look at your mind. This is how to practice the Dharma or virtue without meditation and post-meditation, so without break, continuously. So in other words, the best way to practice is to practice like uniting session and post-meditative session.
Yeah, 真的。
And then there is a question in the chat saying it is common in the West that people declare themselves enlightened. How does this work in the Kagyu tradition? Do masters also declare that they're enlightened themselves?
글쎄,
di nupso ki lombalam adini mi khashe lukso yorira
아니요.
mi khashe tanga sangi se adi tik enlighten chik to tira sangi ki sangi am labgamare
아니,
yene dan nyangen le deba da wo ji inzare ram nyangen le deba da wo ji top
아니,
song ra nyangen de song yorwa
네,
din av lapso yore
아니,
dini dini kagyu loksa nang la khande tok dini bena lama den sa nga sangi songs sa wuti dinas lapke dues bena nga sangi songs lam ni lama dues
而且他是根据这种俺上节送这个有啥嘛嘞？而且他就这么来的吧，这个第三，然后年龄同步因为给家人包提那第送出来没？先把这种就当俺做好的，的那小你把录送这个嘛嘞是，好这种开始是那录送的，说录送的，他可就是个吧。我这里开始呢，我做服务这种人呢，在录中题要不呢，我写给没，我年龄没什么，你们就都要查这个的，那这里，我在录中人呢，俺他把这录中呢，在抢的话这，我曾经呢，先把这些学的这么多，的，可就是那我这拉过马来的，可是我曾经俺上级说了，年，而且有就马来，是的，你要不是口嘛上的，
so in the Kagyu tradition, but actually not just Kagyu, in a Tibetan tradition, and that no one actually does that. Nobody would declare that they are enlightened. Nobody would say I'm enlightened. So not in the Kagyu tradition, not in any Tibetan tradition in general. And that's actually a bit of there's a difference between the Western and the Tibetan traditions. Like Westerners like often speak about their accomplishments, but Tibetans actually, even if they actually, for example, even if somebody is a really great scholar, has a lot of learning and knowledge, they still say, I don't know anything. They act like they don't know anything. They are quite humble. They're always self-humbling. Even though they know a whole lot, they say, I don't know it. And in the West, it's often quite the opposite. Maybe if you don't know anything, you still say kind of you know it. So there's a bit of a difference here. So Druman says, personally, I've never actually heard any Tibetan person, master or person make such declarations.
Yeah.
And I see someone has their hand raised, but I cannot unmute them. Can one of the co-hosts to allow them to speak?
글쎄.
미직 도티 고 konsulti kartdragning med, hvad så jeg så der var? Det
아니요.
lamte jo, sorry.
아니요.
I don't know how to do it.
그 코너 얘기 지나래요.
How can you write? You can also write it if you don't want to talk.
Yeah, Daniel, you should be able to unmute yourself to talk.
Yeah.
Oh, he says, sorry, there's a mistake. No worries.
Yeah, 다 신반도야.
Any other question?
야, 전에 다 신바 저봐 맨날 다 저래. 전에 다 나랑 잘 가서
I don't chillapsong.
안돼 있으면.
I don't chillapsong.
아네, 야야.
So to incorporate Guru Yoga in my daily Yidam practice, can I do my regular sadhana and just add the visualization of the Guru at the crown or at the heart? Gyundo nima tapa Yidam tinyamlan chigi yosara.
와래지.
Ni di Yidam di dan nyamdo lamanam chochikom na chigi reves benakurang tuptab sadhana ti kombe kapla. Teni tikapla teni krong lama di yana chiwo yana ninkala kwamna tigirive.
这点这个是，
He said, yes, you can do that.
There's a question in Spanish. I think the translator is translating.
Yeah, okay.
The question is the purification of obscurations a result of Mahamudra?
开始，
Di tripa thaya rwa tripa thaya.
嗯，
Tripa thaya di chakya chenpo ki deborve.
我瞧这些没光呢，这把他这个这把他送了，我真这个着，这把什么他送了，我做的，我这，
So yeah, because if you practice Mahamudra, obscurations become purified. So yes, you can say it's a result of Mahamudra practice.
这是，
I don't see any questions.
Yeah, okay. 真的他真上面真的，当俺做课上他没写过，我先强调安保去做了吧。这个俺做大课上的至少在当俺做你蛮认得是，在这里真的，在这里送人的这个人家参嘛突击去学下人，真的在年不久前参嘛的突击去跟我讲，当俺做你蛮认，就是这些年们的在年们去下去嘛，跟我讲参嘛真的年们也不容易的，参嘛去话那么多容易去。
So then we stop here, and I would also like to thank the Mexican Sangha, the Dharma Center, Garchen Changchup. What is it actually? What is it? Yeah, Wang Boling, Wang Bo. Oh, Changchup. Oh, yeah. And so, anyways, we had those 2 days of
这2天的法教
of retreat, and I would like to thank the
我要
organizers
谢谢这个
who
组织的
organized
请法
this
者，
retreat and everyone
那
who
么呢
supported
让
it.
大家能
So
够
I want to
来这
thank
里，
everyone
那大
who
家来
joined
参加， 我也
listening
谢谢
to
大家能够
things.
来参加这2
And I
天
was
的
very
法教，
happy to meet
我很
with
高
you
兴。
today and
那
practice
在
together.
我们在线
And
上
I
来
pray that
相
your
聚，并且一
practice
起
will
实修，
develop and that all your activities will be
我
successful.
祈愿你的这个修持，都能够圆满成办。
Lamala, Lamala. In the name of the Guardian Center, Mexico, Guardian Chuampolin, and Mexican Sangha, we thank you from the bottom of our heart, your marvelous teachings, and we hope you can come to Mexico next year to conduct a meditation retreat.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. 真的，真的，俺做解决了，前两有的，然后对吧？然后估计俺做的解决错了，有人不解决那的，他说突击些，真随便也有的，随便的解决的，从嘛解决从嘛突击些。
And then also I would like to thank the translators. So there's Ina for the English and Rocco for the Chinese. And Rocco has been translating in the Chinese for a very long time. And then there is Sophia for the Spanish. So thank you, all of you.
那我在这边也要谢谢几位译者，主要是伊娜是给我们英文的翻译 ，Sophia 给我们西班牙文的翻译，以及法宝典藏给我们中文的翻译。法宝典藏已经在做中文翻译很多年了，所以我们也谢谢他们的贡献跟付出。Sophia?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. 真的，咱俺做我话去下呢。
Now we dedicate.
Dedicamos.
It's okay.
Yes.
Yeah, share maybe. Page 11.
我们自己念中文好了，不要念出来，因为会打扰到他们的声音。
Page 11. Ya Kare Rabe Gurve Shenkam Su Pentan Deva Malu Jome Ne Jeren Sewa Denzi Jansu Ye Shabi Zende Huatu Tenjuru Je Guancho Renchen Somje Wo Ni Jaten Ziba Juve Pekaran Chang 同归三宝间接生的把陈年轮着各家下边说，关照三界电把这把来，俺这望求几尊见别样。特别人间中面定这把手机那瓦各家下边说。 巴菲云南阿里拉德瓦县东康乔森扎杰瑞村中，今天公布主席决定把两个去国际国家的中马图边诺杰巴丘金。 空别让人家这多家庭是真我梦见些，渐渐光说将真下天做。
For this realm encircled by snow-covered mountains, you are the source of every benefit and bliss without exception. Tenzin Gyatso, you who are one with Avalokiteshvara, may you remain steadfast until samsara's end. Embodiment of the three precious jewels Padmapani, who holds the teachings of the victorious one, seeing the all-goodness meaning with the wisdom eye. May you who are spontaneously established activities live long for hundreds of kalpas. Noble Manjushri, the Lord of Speech, who manifests to hold the teachings of the Triple Gem, who raises the lamp of each sage's teachings, may you, who are the light of the Dharma, live long for hundreds of kalpas. The one known in the Holy Land as Arya Deva, emanated into the Gar clan of eastern Tibet as Chodingpa, the heart son of Jigten Sumgun. May the life of glorious Garchen remain steadfast for 100 aeons. You who are richly endowed with the glorious wealth of Dharma knowledge, who through reflecting and meditating have actualized the self-aware absolute reality and shine with the 100,000 light rays of ethical discipline of the Buddha Dharma, may you, Kenshin Ratna Dwaza, live long.
Dorje Chanchen Dele Naro Marba Nela Chuje Gambo Ba Pamo Chuba Jawa Jiong Ba Gaju Nama Namje Jashi Sho Asana Deya Tamji Saiba Ni Thone Niebe Dhamma Banji De 杰个南去巴龙抽个也随便说的，罗个诸罗个学强求三求人多去，马去巴能解决了解吧娘吧没吧样。 公内公德培瓦学拉玛公康桑瓦拉索罗瓦的，乔德国在人瓦拉索罗瓦的，这呢他的经济瓦拉索罗瓦的，拉玛汤这瓦。 ne bara chinje lo jam bara ba wo che dara chen ba thang gun du sang bo de yang de yin de de da gun je je su da lo je ge wa de da tham chi ra de mo sang je gu song ni be chen la thang 祝你们就是天边前浪荡，跟着没钱对外前浪接，觉得我心莫浪着把修。
Dorje Chang, Tilopa, Naropa, Marpa, Milarepa, Dharma Lord Gampopa, Pagmodrupa, and Lord Trikungpa, please bestow upon us the most auspicious blessing of all the Kagyu Lamas. By this virtue, may I achieve omniscience. By defeating all enemies, confusion, May all who travel on the waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death cross the ocean of samsara. Bodhicitta, the excellent and precious mind, where it is unborn, may it arise. Where it is born, may it not decline, but ever increase higher and higher. I pray that the Lama may have good health. I pray that the Lama may have long life. I pray that your Dharma activities spread far and wide. I pray that I may not be separated from you. As Manjushri the warrior realized the ultimate state, and as did Samantabhadra, I will follow in their path and fully dedicate all merit for all sentient beings. By the blessing of the Buddha who attained the three kayas, by the blessing of the truth of the unchanging Dharma as such, by the blessing of the indivisible Sangha order, may the merit I share bear fruit.
Datan kunde tamchi je tu son tu sabatang yobe gebe zawan de datan semchen tamchi nyortu lana me barar yang ta barar zobe chancho rembo to barar shur je xie jia gunze gunchen chu je je
By the virtues collected in the three times, by myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue, may I and all beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious enlightenment. May the teachings of the great Jikungpa Ratnashri, who is omniscient, Lord of the Dharma, Master of interdependence, continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara. Glorious, holy, precious, kind, root, and lineage lamas, divine assembly of yadams and assemblies of Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Yogins, Yoginis, and Dakinis dwelling in the 10 directions, please hear my prayer. May the virtues collected in the three times by myself and all sentient beings in samsara and nirvana, and the innate root of virtue not result in the 8 worldly concerns, the 4 causes of samsara, or rebirth as a Shravaka or Pratyekya Buddha. May all mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me and mine, obstructors who harm, misleading Maras, and the hordes of demons experience happiness, be separated from suffering and swiftly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood by the power of this vast root of virtue. May I benefit all beings through my body, speech, and mind. May the afflictions of desire, hatred, ignorance, arrogance, and jealousy not arise in my mind. May attachment to fame, reputation, wealth, honor, and concern for this life not arise for even a moment. May my mind stream be moistened by loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta, and through that may I become a spiritual master with good qualities equal to the infinity of space. May I gain the supreme attainment of Mahamudra in this very life. May the torment of suffering not arise at the time of my death. May I not die with negative thoughts. May I not die confused by wrong view. May I not experience an untimely death. May I die joyfully and happily in the great luminosity of mind as such, and the pervading clarity of Dharmata. May I in any case gain the supreme attainment of Mahamudra at the time of death or in the bardo.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Lama. Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you, Jupanla.
Thank you.
Sangha. Please join us for Green Tara starting Wednesday if you have time. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sophia. Yeah.
Gracias.
Or
Gracias.
Mixes Gusangas. Thank you.
Gracias, Lama.
Yeah, thank you.